Hello everybody, for this episode of Reaper Minis TV, we're going to start off with 2 unboxings of 2 new large miniatures. Okay everybody, here we are with the first of 2 unboxings, or actually unblisterings, because they're in blisters, but they're very large blisters as you can see. This first one is the Red Dragon from the Pathfinder line, and we'll go ahead and cut it open and see what's inside. Try not to injure myself here. Alright, we have our little slightly mangled color card. And let's take a look at all the pieces. Okay, as you can see, we don't have a base in here, but the dragon itself is going to sit on a sculpted base that comes attached to the legs. Let's see a close-up of that. That would go like that. And then you've got the main body of the dragon here. Large crest over the back of the dragon. I like that a lot. Kind of strange how it gets larger and kind of angles up as it goes. Here's the head of the dragon. You can see how that's going to go together. The upper right arm of the dragon is going to fit right there. And so he'll go together something like this. Seems like he fits together pretty well. Might need a little bit of putty down here where he comes together, but it looks like a pretty good joint. And then on the back is where the wings would fit in. Might need a little bit of work, a little bit of extra metal there, have to shave off. A little bit of mold line here on the wings. Other side, you can see we've got a little bit of cleaning to do over here. But they're going to fit in at a nice groove and a ball and socket joint. Alright, so here's all the pieces of the dragon. I'll show you the put together version of him in just a second. Okay, here's our assembled dragon. And I've only kind of put him together kind of like on a temporary basis. I'll tear it down and redo it, making sure all the joints are perfectly clean and all the flash is gone and everything like that. But here you can see all the parts are together. We've got the wings attached on the back of the body, the right arm, right hand, the rest of the head, and all of it goes on the legs and the base, and you can see the tail extends here a little bit past. I've got him standing next to another Reaper miniature that I use for a paladin, but you can see here the size of the two if you compare them. Normal guy size miniature over here on the right, and then our dragon on the left. It's a little bit wobbly. You can see it doesn't sit perfectly flat, so I'll probably put him on a 40 or 50 millimeter base. You have definitely enough room here on the bottom end to just stick him on a base. Have this part and his tail overhanging, that won't be a problem at all. And then when I tear him apart and reassemble him, I might put a little bit of putty along the line here. Maybe a little right here in the front, but I think that one's probably okay. You could pin it when you were putting it together. I didn't really need to. He'll hold together pretty well, and just a good dragon model here. Okay, now if you thought the dragon was large, I think this one will actually be colossal. It says it right there in your mind. It's a colossal spider, and we're going to try to open this one up too. See if we can not mangle the card too much this time as we get into the blister. Now this blister is actually a little larger than the dragon one, and here's the color card. And it's, like I said, it's larger than the dragon. It contains more pieces, and still trying to get into it here. There we go. And this is from Reaper's P65 heavy metal line. I'll let you know what that means in a little while after we get to look at the miniature itself. Alright, so here we have the body, main body section of the spider itself. Here it is compared to my hand. It's massive. And then here are the legs that go on there. And as you'd expect, you get 8 legs. and the legs fit in under the body here. You can see all the little holes, and each leg ends in a peg that fits in here, and you have the ability to slip them right into place. Each one fits in a specific place, so you have right side and left side. This one probably goes on the other side. Okay. And you can see just from having one leg on there, this is going to be a huge model. Not a whole lot to it except for the 8 legs and the body. You can see some of it's hollowed out here. That is to save on weight, so it doesn't cost more than it already will for being such a large metal figure. Got some spinities here on the back. You can see the face here, or mouth of the spider, and the fangs. And there he is. Alright, you'll see the put together version in just a second. Okay, so here we have the colossal spider, and it's all assembled, and I will zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole thing. I've got it standing next to a regular size Reaper miniature that I've used for a ranger character in D&D. He got squished by some giants, but here he is next to the colossal spider, and he's a normal sized human figure, and you can see how large he is. Actually, I should say how large the spider is and how small he looks. Now, let me give you a little bit of a zoomed in shot here. So here's the barbarian ranger guy, and here's our massive colossal spider. To say that it's large is not really even doing it justice. It is just a massive model. Goes together pretty easy. You can see I've got all the legs on here, and if we turn it over, see all the legs just go in the spots there. I've just kind of spot put him together just so I can show you on the video here. I'll probably take it apart and then reassemble it, making sure all the flash is gone and it's totally clean. So he went together pretty easy. Just had to flip him over and do 2 legs at a time, and then when they're set, do another 2 legs and then another 2, and like that. So huge model here. Absolutely perfect for any kind of giant spider you need. A little bit limited on what you might need it for, but if you do, it's a perfect model for the job. Okay, everybody, I told you I'd tell you what the P65 heavy metal line was all about, and really all it is, it's a line of Reapers where they have a different metal formulation. It's more of a lead-based alloy, and you'll find different miniatures in that line. A lot of times you'll find the larger miniatures in there, and they'll end up being cheaper to manufacture and sell than they would be if they use the regular metal alloy. So you'll find sci-fi guys in here from the Chronoscope line, you'll find fantasy stuff from the various fantasy lines, and that's really all that's up with it. We have time to look at a couple new releases for the rest of this episode, so let's get right to them. First off, we have a Yeti leader that can accompany the Yeti warrior that we saw last time around. He looks quite similar to the Yeti warrior. 2 arms come as a separate piece. They also go into place just as easily. Also might need a little bit of putty on one of them, most notably the right one that comes up under the shoulder where he's got a saber-toothed tiger almost as a shoulder pad there. Looks pretty neat. He has the same ferocious roaring face that the regular Yeti warrior has, and a whole group of these would be a very menacing sight on the battlefield or in an RPG scenario. And the last model we'll get to look at this time around is from the Pathfinder line. It's called the Scarecrow, and he's a flesh golem. It's a single piece miniature, and he comes with a 40mm square base. He carries a large sickle above his head held in both hands. You can see that the stitch work all along the flesh is very nicely done, very defined. You'll be able to pick it out easily when you're painting it if you just wash over it. And his clothes are also stitched together similarly to his body and his flesh. He wears a mask, so it's almost like an Elephant Man kind of mask, where you can see part of his face and his eyes, and he's got a large hat on, so very similar in appearance to a scarecrow, except that he's a flesh golem. There's 3 skulls that hang on his belt, sort of like a trophy on his left side, and I would have no problem using him as a flesh golem, whether in Pathfinder or D&D or just whatever kind of fantasy game. I could also probably find a good place for him in my Vampire Counts army for Warhammer Fantasy Battle, if nothing else is just a special place filler in a large unit of zombies. Okay, everybody, that's it for this episode. We'll see you next time.